When I was a kid, I remember putting hours and hours into every game that I owned, basically playing them to death because I was having so much fun. I felt so immersed, like I'd actually climbed all the way to Snowpoint City or saved the world from some weird squid thing. Recently though, that feeling hasn't manifested like it used to. It's not that I love video games any less, it's just that through our modern lives, we've built habits that make immersion basically impossible. Short-form content and quick dopamine hits have trained our brains to just give up anytime we are even somewhat bored. This is so stupid, but it's honestly a perfect example. Sometimes when I'm gonna sit and just hang out on the couch for a minute, I'll bring my iPad, my phone, my Kindle, my Steam Deck, and some other handheld, literally just be so that I can switch tasks anytime I get bored, and I'm done. I'm gonna fix my attention span. I really want to focus on my games again and train my brain to not want to switch activities as soon as I get even a little bit bored. There are lots of ways to do this, but why not use video games? So I have picked 2 games that I'm gonna be playing, and I'm gonna play them until I beat them. One of them is one that I've been meaning to finish for a while, and the other one is a new one that I'm really excited about playing. And I want to see if just playing 1 or 2 games and focusing on them actually increases my ability to focus on video games and on everything else in my life. This experiment is not very scientific, and it's not really backed by any kind of concrete evidence, but I want to try it anyway to see the benefits of just focusing on a couple of games and how we can use this to regain our attention span and live more interesting, intriguing lives. So why is focus even important? And is having a long attention span actually worth something? A study was done in 2023 where researchers confirmed something incredibly obvious. They took a sample of 700 kids from age 9 to 14 and tested them to determine if those with a longer attention span would do better in their examinations. And it turns out, obviously, that if you're able to focus longer, you will be able to perform better on tests at school. Seriously, I actually had a hard time finding any really good studies about this because of how obvious the answer is. We can apply the same logic to gaming. Once we stop context switching and actually focus on a game, we get the chance to immerse ourselves in it. We don't have to spend the time and mental energy remembering what the heck is going on the last time we played, where we're supposed to be going, or what the controls are. When you focus on 1 or 2 games, you give yourself the opportunity to actually play them and progress through the story. This is not easy. Actually sticking with a game and pushing through those boring moments is gonna feel pretty terrible at first, which is so sad to even say, but it does. It kind of sucks in the beginning. But it's not good game design to give the player every power-up or ability right at the start. So good developers have to find that balance between rewarding the player and actually making them work for those rewards. You have to work to progress. Every other form of media in our lives right now is trying to remove the work, remove distractions, and keep us mindlessly scrolling for as long as possible. And it's so sad to even see video games get turned into this mindless form of content. Metroid Prime 4 is a perfectly sad example of this. And if you don't believe me, go watch Beat 'em Up's video about it. They do a much better job at explaining this crisis than I do. Their video's like 40 minutes long, but it's really funny and it's sad and it's good. You should watch it. Isn't the point of gaming to immerse ourselves in and actually remember a story, to connect with the characters, and to enjoy the time we spent playing? When we take the time to actually focus on 1 or 2 games and play them long enough to deprive our minds of the instant gratification that comes from short-form content and to teach ourselves that work is actually good, we can break free from unplayed game purgatory and return to the fun we used to have while playing games as kids. Plus, the benefits do not end there. Learning to focus and increase our attention, like I mentioned in that study, it will help us in life and with all the other things that we're doing. We become more interesting individuals, better conversationalists. We're able to actually engage in and with the people around us, and we learn more as a result. In the world we live in, the people who can focus consistently, who can accomplish their tasks, and who aren't afraid to work in order to achieve their goals are going to be in high demand. So become that type of person. Once you genuinely take the time to focus, to say no to the monkey in your brain that's constantly trying to take control and scroll endlessly, you will live a better life. So what game would you say, would I say, would be a good candidate for an experiment like this? Well, I think personally, a perfect example is Outer Wilds. This game is interesting because you don't actually unlock anything as the player. I know I just said that good game design is unlocking things as you go, but this game, instead of giving you new abilities, everything you unlock is in your mind. As you explore the world, you gather information about the current environmental crisis. I don't want to give spoilers, so that's what I'm going to call it. And you figure out what happened to the race who came before you. Instead of getting a new type of gun or a new way to traverse the world, the only thing that unlocks extra parts of the adventure is the knowledge you gain, which is incredibly interesting. I'm not gonna lie, this game it's boring at times. It's frustrating at times. I had to come back to it multiple times to actually finish it, but it's incredible. I have friends who've told me that if they could forget everything, which is crazy, this is crazy to me, if they could forget everything just to play Outer Wilds again, and also probably read the Cosmere for the first time again, they would do it. It's really that good. If you want to pick a game for yourself though, I would recommend trying to find games that require a bit more of you, like story games or puzzle games, and try not to pick something random or something you've tried and kind of not enjoyed playing before, because you might end up hating the experience if you do. Pick a game you're excited about, stick with it through the boring moments, and try to immerse yourself in the story that you're given. So what about those days when you want to play a game, but you don't really want to play either of the two games that you've set aside? Well, I mean, maybe try something new. There are so many fun activities that you could engage in that will stretch your attention span. Or crazy talk, you could just be bored for a minute, even if it's just for a couple minutes. Sitting with our thoughts and being bored has never actually been more important. I recently watched a video from Harvard Business Review that talks about what boredom does for us and why it's important. You really should watch this because it's a very, very well done video. But basically, being bored makes our brains work and think. It gives us the opportunity to wrestle with the difficult questions of life and find ways to find more meaning in existing. Depression and anxiety are much more common than they ever used to be because we never find answers to these big, difficult questions through being bored and thinking and exploring. And while even though our phones and all the things that we have in this world today are big distractions, life is also awesome in immeasurable ways. For example, I ordered a PS Vita and a DSi from Japan, and they got to my house in 3 days. That's crazy. The insane wealth of information at our fingertips at all times that has never been as accessible as it is now. And we're able to stay connected with family members and friends who we may not live close to anymore. The point of this isn't turning our backs on today and romanticizing the past. The point is learning from the past and using what we've learned to become better people, the best people that we can be. And having a dedicated device to play these games, while it's not crucial, it can make focusing on them a ton easier. Getting off of your phone, getting off of your computer, the distracting tech and different things that you use, and having this separate device to just play games is incredibly helpful. And retro handhelds are kind of that bridge between the games we want to play and being able to actually play them. Plus, any excuse I have to play with a new toy, and I'm gonna take advantage of it. Of course, if you can't afford a separate device or you just don't want to carry something else around with you all the time, using your phone can work pretty well, especially if you have a newer Android phone. Your phone can play 99%, if not all the games that a mid-sized retro handheld could play, and iPhones finally have support for official emulators. Plus, both of these devices are already with you all the time, so you don't need to worry about forgetting something else or carrying it with you. But if the distractions are what you're hoping to avoid, then using the device that is the main source of those distractions and those dopamine hits will make the experiment harder. So the console that I've decided to do this with is the Miyoo Mini Flip. The reason I picked this is because it's super portable. It was fairly cheap. It cost me about 50 bucks, and it can play both of the games that I have been personally wanting to play: Legend of Zelda: Minish Cap and Pokemon Lazarus. The Flip is one of the cheaper handhelds out there, especially if you wait for a sale. You can get this for, like I said, about 50 bucks, which is honestly a pretty good deal. Mine came with the device itself, a micro SD card reader, a USB-C to aux adapter, more on that later, and a cute carrying case with this fun zipper tag on it. I'm probably never going to use the case because the Flip does a good job at protecting itself, and I don't want to have to deal with the bulkier device that's more annoying to use than it needs to be. The Flip has the exact same processor as the Miyoo Mini and the Miyoo Mini Plus, so if you know how those systems performed, then you've got a pretty good idea of how this one will perform. Either way, don't expect to be doing anything crazy with it. It has enough power to play GBA, DS, and PS1 games, but that's pretty much where the list ends. Battery life has been alright, nothing exceptional, but nothing bad either. You can probably expect about 3 to 4 hours of battery life. I've been using Allium OS, and I feel like Allium OS gets better battery life and better performance than Onion OS. Allium is really, really fast. It's fast to boot up, it's fast to switch games, it's a really, really good OS. Now, using a device with a hinge is always kind of scary since it's decently fragile, and once the hinge is broken, it's way less enjoyable to play with. The Flip and the Flip Mini had a lot of issues early on, with people reporting broken hinges after just a couple weeks of using the device. Thankfully, the hinge on mine is rock solid, and those issues have gotten less and less frequent just in general. But I'll keep the description of this video updated if anything changes with the hinge. The screen is also really nice, honestly. It's a small screen, but it gets decently bright, it's colorful, it's a really good screen. Like, it's gonna do exactly what you would hope for it to do.
Yeah, I sure hope it does.
The buttons are pretty clicky on those handhelds, so if you like clicky buttons, then that's good for you. And they do have a bit of a hollow, cheap sound, but again, I mean, this thing is 50 bucks. Like, it's one of the cheaper handhelds out there, so just remember that if you do decide to buy this one. The only issue I really have with the hardware is that the speakers are garbage. They suck. Wow, so that's actually kind of loud. So here's what the speakers sound like. Like, another problem, I guess, is that you can't turn them off. Like, I I don't even know if you can tell, but it's like playing very lightly in the background. So it's really quiet. I'm sure it's not gonna be an issue, but you literally cannot turn the speaker all the way off, which is another interesting little quirk. And if you want to use headphones, your only option is to use the USB-C dongle. If they had added a headphone jack, I could mostly forgive the bad speaker, but I can also see why they wouldn't want to sacrifice size just to add a headphone jack. If it's super important to you to have good audio, I would recommend the Mini Flip V2 or the Ambernic Game Boy SP clone, since both of those have a headphone jack. Since the Flip is so small, it's super easy to slip into my pocket or backpack and take it basically anywhere with me. Clamshells are honestly the holy grail of handhelds, since they protect the screen, the controls, and it basically halves in size since you're able to fold it in half. Comparing this to even the Mini Plus, it's only a little bit thicker when folded, but other than that, it's smaller in every other way. But the portability does unfortunately come at a cost. Honestly, this is not that comfortable to play on. I have really enjoyed my time using it, but it's just kind of awkward to play games on, and I can't imagine super long play sessions. It's nice if you're only going to be playing with one hand, but it feels like I'm defeating the whole purpose of this challenge if I have my Mini in one hand and my phone in the other hand. You know what I mean? When I've got my phone, I'm more distracted than when I started, and I don't actually get anything out of being focused because I'm not focusing on the games. I'm probably going to do this again once I finish Lazarus and Minish Cap, but I think I'm going to pick a different handheld this time. Maybe a 3DS, the Steam Deck, or even a PS Vita. If you do decide to do this, come and share your results on Discord. I would love to chat with anyone who wants to return to the more focused, enjoyable experience that just playing a couple of games can offer. Okay, so I wanted to update everybody on my personal experience and where I'm at in this experiment. So in Pokemon Lazarus, I'm about to enter the 6th gym, and in Minish Cap, I have gotten 2 of the 4 elements. I'm not as far in Minish Cap. It's been a busy week, but I've been playing a lot of Lazarus, and it has actually really made me want to play the game more, actually focusing and saying, I'm gonna only play Lazarus. And I mean, really, basically what I've done, I've played a little bit of Minish Cap, but saying I'm only gonna play Lazarus has been so fun. It's really let me focus on the game again, and I think that the experiment has worked. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.